Welcome to another episode of 40k Brunch Gossip with me, your gay auntie ShiningNathan, to give you the poppin' tea from 40k. Now this tea is very poppin' today because it's served with a big old dash of bitter, and it's of the Necrons. So sit on down because I'm going to give as much to you as I can because it's a lot to cover because they start out at the beginning of the galaxy. You see, they were one of the first civilizations to evolve. Alright? Now, back then, they were called, from what I heard, from my friend, the Adeptus Mechanicus, they were called the Necron tier. I know. But the problem with the Necron tier is that they evolved on a planet that was heavily irradiated by its sun. So their DNA was all messed up. They didn't live long lives. So much so their worlds were called tomb worlds because they basically lived to die. But they did become very technologically advanced to try to get past that whole DNA radiation thing. Eventually, they wind up leaving their planet and their solar system, trying to escape the radiation of their sun. That didn't work. The DNA was already not DNAing like they wanted it to, but they did flee their home solar system in tomb ships, colony ships. Now, their whole hierarchy is there's triarchs, 3 of the greater dynasties, and there's multiple dynasties below, led by a pharaoh. Cool? Get that in your head. Now, as they expanded throughout the galaxy, they ran into another highly advanced species called the Old Ones. Now, the Old Ones loved seeding life throughout the galaxy, had very great mastery over genetics and technology in general, and they themselves were nigh near immortal, which, of course, our bitter Nancy's the Necron tier would obviously like, which only made them more bitter because they went up to them, to the Old Ones were like, hey, please, Big Daddy, will you make me immortal too, or at least give us a longer life? And the Old One's like, we don't work like that, baby doll, so skedaddle. Well, of course, that's going to make the Necron tier bitter. It'd make you bitter too, wouldn't it? I meant me bitter. Dang plumb near. And so the Necron tier decided to start trying a war with the Old Ones. And the Old Ones said, nah, skedaddle, get. Of course, they lost. This is several series of the Necron tier trying to go to war with the Old Ones. But anyway, eventually, the Necron tier go to war amongst themselves for power because the pharaohs of the other dynasties are trying to vie for power, and the Triarch is trying to regain control over the situation until eventually one rises above, becoming called the Silent King. And so the Silent King knew a way to unify the Necron tier is their bitterness for the Old Ones. Remember, bitter Nellies, right? And so the Necron tier go back to war with the Old Ones. The Old Ones, because they have near instantaneous travel across the galaxy through their thing called the Webway, basically say, okay, you need to stop. And they fight them back into their own home solar system. Cool? Cool. Well, while they're there in the home solar system being sequestered away, unable to basically start fighting each other again, until they encounter another species that has existed since the beginning of the galaxy. There's a third one. And that one's called the Catan. Now, the Catan are basically energy vampires, and for the most of the time, they have just been sucking energy from suns. They are powerful, but they're just like, I'm gonna eat this. This is fine enough. Until the Necron tier start trying to communicate with them. And the Catan are sentient, right? The Catan are sentient. And so the Catan want bodies, right? And so the Necron tier enter a deal like, hey, you help us with this fight against the Old Ones, we can make you bodies. So they make them bodies. And so the Catan basically say, hey, we can make you immortal. You can fight them, but you don't need them. We can help you. So the Silent King says, okay, you know what, let's enter this deal. So they create what's called a Soul Forge, if I remember correctly. And basically all of the Necron tier enter the Soul Forge. And it turns them from organic into basically robots, basically immortal. The thing is, it was kind of a trap because the Catan basically fed on their souls, and most of the Necron tier that went through lost a good chunk of their free will and sentience, and so they were all beholden to the Silent King, except for the nobility. And the Silent King was like, oh crap, I dang messed up. But you know what? We still got to go to war with the Old Ones. So now that they are nigh immortal, because even if they get destroyed, they can be recreated with the same consciousness, just be teleported away and teleported back. That's how advanced the Necron tier. Now, with the Catan, now the Necrons are. So they go to the war with the Old Ones. Now, this was called the War in Heaven. Now, the War in Heaven was shattering throughout the galaxy for plumb 4 million years, it's speculated. Don't quote me on that. I'm not Wes Hammer. Okay, I ain't got that specifics. And so eventually the old one's like, oh crap, we are actually losing this war. So they create several other species to help fight them. It's rumored that the humans were one, but we didn't come in till way late in the game. I don't buy that rumor. But two that are alleged to be official are the orcs, that you know today as the orcs, but weren't the same as they were back then, and the Eldar. Both were very psychically gifted. They had magic. The orcs were able to basically will things into working. That's why the orcs today, if they just think it works, right? Power of imagination, all that. The Eldari, very powerful psychos, and they all three go to war with the Catan and the Necrons. Unfortunately for the old ones, they fought a bitter fight where the heavens and space is erupting with light. The old ones lose, and the Necrons become one of the more powerful species in the galaxy. They're so powerful they have a device, from what I heard at a friend at the Administratum, that it has every sun in the galaxy, every solar system appears in this holographic, and they can click one, and that sun will go supernova instantaneously. That's how, and that one's the one that still exists. So at this point, they did their war with the old ones. They didn't really care about the Eldari or the orcs. And like, all right, well, we still have a foe we need to face, and that was the Catan. So they turned on the Catan because the Catan tricked them to giving up their souls, and they shatter all the Catan into shards and still use them basically as energy sources. And at that point, they were like, well, what are we going to do now? We kind of control the galaxy. And then the Silent King, who's always been here running things, basically gives one more command, because all the Necrons run by command codex or whatever. Basically releases the codex and tells them to go into their big tomb worlds and sleep for millions of years. So the Necrons do so, basically saying, you know what, we ain't in the mood for fighting more, let's go to bed. And they do. And so there are thousands, probably millions of Necron tomb worlds throughout and their technology is beyond advanced than anything the Imperium or the Eldari have. And so the Silent King orders the destruction of their more powerful technology. And then they go to sleep. And they sleep for millions, all the different dynasties, right? And then the Silent King goes off into the galaxy to kind of adventure off and see the galaxy for himself. So they sleep. Now the universe forgets them. They kind of become boogeymen, fanciful tales, until they start waking up. Tomb worlds start waking up bit by bit. Remember, they're ruled by their own Pharaon. And so we've colonized some of these worlds, and they either wake up because of a faulted protocol, because it's been degraded, and so the tomb worlds start waking up. Some of them are woken up because we interfered and started delving too deep. I don't know why I heard that before. And opened the tomb worlds and tombs and start inadvertently waking them up. And so the Necrons are coming back to life. No, whole hive worlds have gone dark suddenly. Well, all of a sudden the Necrons now are. And we speculated that somebody delved too deep and woke them up, and they took over the whole planet. And now message is able to get out. And so slowly they're waking up throughout the galaxy, eating worlds as they can be, and they are a big threat to us and our glorious Imperium and to the glory of the Emperor. And so that is the Necrons in a nutshell. They have very powerful technology. They still wield the former star gods called the Catan in their shattered form. And they are slowly trying to reclaim the galaxy. Tomb worlds are waking up in fits and starts because, again, they were supposed to sleep for a good more chunk of time. But anyway, that's a tale for a next story. That is the Necrons and their history in a nutshell. Very bitter, very Egyptian, very technologically advanced, and very spooky scary. I adore them. They're not my favorite of all our Xenos in the galaxy, but they're delicious. I hope you enjoyed this tale of 40k Brunch Gossip, honey. And if you want more in-depth lore, go visit one of your other favorite creators like Luton09 and Wes Hammer. They go into much greater detail than I do here. I'm just here to give you a fun overview. As always, I love you, adore you, glory be to the Emperor, and if you enjoy my content, consider becoming a subscriber and sponsor at my Patreon for as low as $3 to $5 a month at patreon.com/ShiningNathan. As always, glory be to the Emperor. Until next time.